Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am super thrilled to have you join us today. I've got an incredible guest. I've been spending 10 minutes with him, understanding and learning about him. You're going to be blown away. But we dedicate this podcast with the idea of doing business and life and using a servant's heart. What impact and what difference will you make doing that? That's what we want to focus on today. The other thing is, we don't want to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you to make an impact in your world. And I guarantee you, when you listen to my guest today, you'll make an impact with somebody, especially if they have cancer. While you're listening, though, I want you to think about how you can serve yourself and serve others and what impact you create with that service. The key is today, that's the word. When you listen to this great guest, I want you to think about how you can serve somebody today and try to be consistent every day. I also want to thank my sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. They're an incredible partner. They're building a community of high-income, successful business owners and entrepreneurs from very diverse industries. Together, they're building a thought leader platform to impact and change the world. If you'd like to be part of that, just reach out to me and I'll get you more information about Pantheon Alliance. Okay, with that being said, I've been talking to my guests for about 10 minutes. We've really connected and the synergy. But the impact in the world, and he said it, is he wants to be an advocate to help the small person, the person that doesn't get the resources. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm super excited and much more. But Jason, I want to welcome you to the show.
Steve, thanks so much for having me. Super grateful to be a part of the show, and great discussion thus far. I can only imagine what the rest of this podcast is going to sound like.
It's going to be great. You know, one thing. How do you say your last name?
So the Y's silent. It's Zygadlo.
Zygadlo.
That's it.
But you know what his nickname is? See, I learned some secret things. Ziggy.
That's right.
Ziggy today. We'll call him Jason, but I love that. Okay.
Yeah, when you have a last name like mine, you're just about last in everything. And playing sports, you know, coaches were butchering that up. It was just easy to Ziggy, get over here. So
get over here, yeah. And the Z, I didn't even think about the Z. You're right. You're at the end of the line when you.
I sure am.
You started to build your own brand because it came from your obstacles that you're dealing with. Talk about that and how it came about.
Yeah, so build your own brand. It's, let me just start by saying I spent my entire career in the medical device space. I spent a few years right out of college in pharmaceutical sales, and very difficult industries to get into. You know, I was a first generation college graduate and was looking for creative ways to stand out and to break into the industry. And finally did. I stood out in parking lots, Steve, where medical office buildings were, and you know, this is pre-LinkedIn, by the way, but when Chevy Impalas and Ford Tauruses pulled in, they were usually sales reps. And so I had a nice shiny folder. I printed my resume and made my own business cards with simply just a name, number, and email address. And I would approach those vehicles and say, look, listen, I'm not a low-grade stalker. Can you help me? I need help. And little did I know back then, when someone was in the passenger seat, it was a sales manager doing a ride along with their sales rep for the day. And that's interestingly how I was able to break into the pharmaceutical industry. I spent some years doing that and then broke in again to the medical device world. I was told, hey, as a pharma rep, you don't sell anything. And I'm like, I know. Yeah, you're right. I drop off food and I drop off samples, right? No, I learned a lot from the industry. I play around with it a little bit, but I'm very defensive of it too, because I learned so much. Yeah. But I wanted to get into medical sales, and I did that for a while. But in 2019, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I left the cardiac space to sell breast cancer surgery devices. It was near and dear to my heart. And then over all this time that I've just described, somehow I became anointed as the guy to come to when it was for jobs. So my accounting buddies, my engineer neighbor, didn't matter, firemen up the street, because they knew that I had developed a way to get into this industry, which is very hard to get into. But the blueprint that I created also worked for just about anyone. And so I would speak at my alma mater and am now speaking at other colleges. But at the end of the day, I just wasn't fulfilled. It wasn't the paycheck that was, I was seeking more than that. And when I would help people with their resumes lightly, but more so on the interviewing side and how to be different and memorable, I teach everyone, Steve, attention is the new currency. What are you doing to be different? And what are you, sometimes different is better than just being better. Like you've got to find a way to stand out. And so when I would help people, they would come back and say, hey, I got that job. Like that was more rewarding than selling my widget into the big hospital at the street. And so my wife, after my kind of life altering event, was like, I think you're just being suppressed. Like I watch you and how excited you get when you talk about build your or talk about helping people. You need to form something to do that work, that meaningful work that really gets you more pumped up than anything. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm nervous. Like I'm just a little old sales rep. This is all I know. And it was really her encouragement to help me like believe in myself and learn that I'm more than just a sales rep. I do have all these other skills that I wasn't giving myself credit for. And hence Build Your Own Brand was born to empower people to be different and creative and to go about their job search in a whole different way. I feel like people who are complacent at a job that they've been at for a while, down to a college kid that just graduated, you're not really told how to sell yourself. And so I've taken all of my experiences as a salesman and helping people close interviews and ask for jobs and doing it in a very professional and conversational way, not an awkward way, but there's an art to doing that. And most people don't even know you can do that, Steve. So it's been a lot of fun, just mentoring people, helping people. And then I help small businesses. One of the pillars of Build Your Own Brand is using personalized videos to be different and memorable and stand out. And so from a recruiting perspective, or just as a simple thank you to a customer that you've worked so hard to earn and just want to thank them for the relationship that you've fostered over the X amount of years that you've had, they go a long way and they're very underutilized. So in a very long-winded answer, it's kind of how this whole thing was born.
Passion was oozing out of you. On a quick side note, everybody, you husbands out there, here's a lesson. Your wives are pretty smart. Look at where he's at today. Thank God to your wife. What's her name?
Her name is Chelsea.
Chelsea, shout out to you because you're sitting here today and listening to you before the show in the green room and now today, now on the show, it's scared of your life. You had cancer and we talked about how you're still dealing with it. You're so passionate and so happy and have a great attitude. Why?
I'm just grateful. I think that's really what it comes down to. My wife and I, we have we didn't get married until later in life, just in 2020. We just welcomed our first, he's a 5-week-old junior.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're real excited. I have a son. I have a 14-year-old daughter too. Shout out to my daughter Kaylee. It's beautiful. But I'm so grateful, Steve, and just feel so blessed. Everything's been a challenge, but I've always kind of attacked everything with just grace and persistence and a grittiness, because I do think that if you continue to do good and you continue to help others, that just comes back, and it has for me. I must say that everything that I've earned in one way or another, I do feel like it's a payment back, if you will, from all of the things I try to do. I try to put people first always. And I wouldn't change anything. I love that approach. It's served me well. My wife is the same way, very philanthropic, very supportive. We've been talking about maybe writing a book collaboratively, like a husband-wife perspective, and each topic, like my perspective, her perspective, because we're so aligned. And it really is just, I'm blessed.
Yeah, and I'm blessed to have met you, and because I've told you I had skin cancer, and obviously it wasn't serious like his, but that C word can get to you. But we just give back. You said it, a servant's heart. You're not poor, you're not homeless, you're eating every day. I want people to get that. You can be a servant's heart and be successful in your life and in your business, correct?
Absolutely. I think for me, it was like, people go, oh, medical device, you had a great salary and this and that. I left all that to be rich in other ways.
Yeah.
And so I want to be rich with, my nonprofit, Ziggy Strong. I want to be rich with helping individuals like get the jobs that they want. Like I feel like, in a way, I mean, I've got a lot to still do and accomplish, but I wanted to be a medical device person. I've had that. I want to help people like get that job that they just want themselves. I throw my whole self into helping people. I
Yeah.
do it in a way that like I would do for myself. I mean, anything that I do, I tackle it and attack it in the same way that I would if it was, me going after the job. So it's very
Yeah.
important that
Yeah.
I just
I
attack it.
li- and what I'm hearing is the realtor in my head. I'm not a realtor, but like here in California, at one time there was 15,000 realtors to sell one home. You said it earlier. I want audience to hear this because this is the power of, $1 million power is how can I be a realtor in a market where there's 14,999 people? Let's use real estate. It's across the country. Everybody wants to be
Yes.
a realtor. I sell a home. I make 50, 60, 70, like medical devices. I make so much money.
Yes.
Talk about more about uniqueness. Let's use a realtor. How can a realtor be unique and different?
Yeah, I think it starts by, just fostering good relationships when you first encounter someone to be genuine and be authentic. I think, if there's some
Mm.
common denominator that people use about me, because I'm always curious, everyone, I always want to know, like, what do people genuinely think of me? And I usually get authentic and genuine. And that makes me feel great because when I ask you how you're doing, I genuinely care. Like I want to know. I take notes in my phone. Steve has daughter, wife's name, like, and I use these things because I genuinely care. And I think people can see that. I can't tell you how many times, Steve, I would be talking with a nurse or shaking a nurse's hand and introducing for the first time, and they hear the door open. Oh, the doctor just walked in. Okay, cool. Because they're so used to so many people coming in, using them for some small talk, and then I got to go see Dr. Steve. Well, no, I'm here to actually learn about your weekend. We were in the middle of a discussion. I'll talk to Dr. Steve later. Help me understand, what else did you do this weekend? And so people really they genuinely like that, right? Like they a lot of people just aren't you if there's someone that knows that they're kind of the gatekeeper, if you will, to that where you're trying to go, they're oftentimes being used, sadly. And so when you show someone some genuine respect and care and just authenticity, like they appreciate that. I think that's a big one. Secondly, I just from like using some different tools, these personalized videos, I can't tell you how they've differentiated. And I speak all over, and I usually ask, first question, have you received a personalized video with your name, or have you ever used the technology? And you get very few hands, which then tells me it's still an underutilized technology. And therefore, if used correctly, can be so differentiating in terms of what you're trying to accomplish.
I use a video platform to send my referrals. People are blown away.
Yes.
Oh, what a cool way to, you got to stand out. And realtors build, and that's across the board. I'm just using realtors because there's so
Yes.
many we know. But you're right. What you do is across the board. You could be the plumber next door that works with the company or the CEO of this manufacturing company.
So true.
Build relationships.
Yes. And I mean, you are your brand, I mean, the
Yeah.
posts that I make are about my family. They're about what I like to do in my spare time. We love to boat on Lake Erie. It's because people, when they see that, they know that that's me. Like I want my brand to be a certain way and I control that. And, by being genuine and authentic and in making those posts, real candid posts, like people, I want them to see who I am, the real raw Jason, because I think people do resonate with people that they do know and like and trust. And that's how I've always wanted to represent myself. I mean, for being a salesman, Steve, I always been told like you're not a very pushy sales guy, and that's never been my style. You got buddies that are very, they're salesmen. Me, hey, here's what I have. If it makes sense, great. If not, all good. Just tell someone else about me if that makes sense. And that's how I've always carried myself. I still to this day, and I wouldn't change that either, because people don't like those real pushy people, in my
It's
opinion.
like, and you're right, but do what you like, do that. You don't try to be the pushy salesman if that's not comfortable. You didn't do that. It's a great lesson here
It
across
is.
the board. Because again, and this, we're always selling. I sold you on my podcast. You came on,
Yes.
you got to know me, we built a relationship. I did exactly what you teach. And now we could still have a podcast. It could still be a good, but it's even a better podcast because of more value.
So true. So
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Let's jump on the nonprofit. I got to get the name here. I have it right here. The
Yeah.
Ziggy Strong.
Yes.
Powerful
Yep.
name.
So
What's it
we
all about?
so we created this, my wife and I, as I was going through my chemotherapy treatments. We, again, when I knew that I was kind of getting onto the other side of this whole battle, this journey, we were like, what can we do to help people, the little guys, right? Like there's some big companies out there that raise significant funds that go to research and lots of wonderful things. I mean, those are, we need those things. But at the same time, what about the little guy and gal that just got diagnosed, that they're trying to scrape together some money for food or maybe parking at the hospital, because that's outrageous these days. And what can we do to help those folks? And so I've always been very service centered, volunteer at the food kitchen, the Cleveland Food Bank. My wife serves on the board of the Littlest Heroes, which is a nonprofit pediatric cancer organization. And so we were like, well, let's just come up with Walk Along with Ziggy Strong. And so we walked, Steve, 2.24 miles, which represents my remission date, which is February 24th. And we did our very first walk. We generated like $1,800 and we donated it to the Littlest Heroes. And then we were like, well, this was cool. Like, let's do another one. And so we developed another walk. And then sadly, as you know, so many people that you're connected with, first line, second line, have been diagnosed with cancer. And so very quickly we realized, wow, like we're going to impact now like people we know, or people like one kind of friend away. And so we did our second walk, then we did our third walk. Now here we are doing our fifth walk on Saturday. And so we're super excited to do this work. Super passionate. We became an actual 501c3 now. We're an official nonprofit. We formed a board, and we're just attacking it every day and trying to help the honorees that we have. Sadly, in the short period of time that we've been around, Steve, we've already lost 3 of our honorees. This year, we bought flags with their picture on that we're going to stake into the ground this year forward to honor them in the way that they should be honored. And yeah, we've got a great group this year. Ironically, they're all breast cancer, all women, and just some really, really sad stories. But any little amount that we can raise and give to them, and we always tell them, use it as you wish. But we hope that you're able to just do something that takes your mind off of what you're going through. A lot of times people will use it to get away for the weekend, or some will pay bills. We don't care how you use it. Every dollar we raise goes to the honorees. And so, yeah, we're enthusiastic about growing this thing and making it as big as we possibly can to help as many people as we can. And we've seen some
Yeah.
corporate businesses in the local community this year donating donut holes and giving cash. Sadly, the one pizza shop, the owner of the company was recently diagnosed with a pretty severe cancer, wrote a very, very rich check for us, and was just very happy to see that we're doing this type of work. And so the fire department usually escorts us in the neighborhood, the 2.24 miles. The news has reached out. So, we're going to we want the trajectory to continue to grow. And so we can help as many people as we can. And it's a big week for us. So we're excited.
Yeah, and I'm glad my podcast is part of it. We're coming to the end here. I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Sure.
Doing all this with Ziggy and helping people, does that help with your recovery?
It does in a lot of ways. Mentally, I mean, to be able to give back and help people is always, I feel like that is the most rewarding thing you can do. You can make all the money, you can do all these other things, but like when you help people to see the impact that has, it, it just, I don't even know how to describe it. And I do think selfishly for me, it is a kind of a way to cope and to heal. That's ongoing. I always tell people like the cancer that I had for the 6 months, year, through all the chemotherapy and all the different testing and all the just the rigorous, stuff that comes along with that is tough, but it's ongoing. It doesn't go away up here. I mean, the littlest this or that makes you wonder always, like you're just a prisoner in a lot of ways, to the big C word. And so, I think just giving and helping and doing these things, it does kind of help take my mind off of, my own fears and my own, because I'm focused on the other folks that are having those same fears. And I'll tell you, we've built a nice little community of us that have now kind of been honorees. The board members on our board, we have 6 members, 3 are survivors. So we all just have this unique bond that most folks don't get. And a lot of it, when you talk to them, the underlying part is the mental part, that everybody's scared always of what little thing is popping back up. And it may be nothing, it's seasonal allergy, but it feels like, oh man, one of my issues was this cough, and here it is again. And is it back? So that doesn't go away, but man, am I just happy to really help in any way that I possibly can.
No, and I appreciate your transparency. And I wanted you to say that for people listening. When you have cancer, and it could be something else, maybe it's not cancer, maybe it's another disease, being active, helping people is such a help. It's not solving you said it's not solving the problem, but when you get that email from somebody that says, man, we took that 500, we went on vacation, it was the best vacation of our lives.
Yes.
It reduces pain and reduces stress just a little bit. And that's the whole goal. And it's a great reason to do it.
It really is.
Absolutely. On top of other things as well. So.
Yes. I will tell people lastly to be your own advocate. I think sometimes sadly, you get shuffled around or this or that, but like, you've got to push, you've got to press, if you know yourself well, better than anyone. If you don't feel right and you think just, that something's not right, like push and don't stop, be your own advocate, because if I didn't do that, I don't know, how it would have all turned out, but I have a whole nother story about all that. And it was just me being my own advocate and pressing until I finally got answers that I needed. And sure enough, there was something pretty serious. So don't be afraid. Don't be shy. People just take their doctor's, word for whatever it is that they say. Yeah. And if you don't feel like it jives with how you feel normally on the best day of yourself, yourself, then you got to press and got to push.
Ask questions. Been told that.
Yes.
Push. And that's what he's saying. Push by asking questions. It could be difficult questions, or maybe it's your supporter, maybe it's your wife, your cousin, whoever's there. If you can't ask it, ask that. Thank you so much, Jason. That's huge.
And be vulnerable, Steve. I say too, like sometimes us men, we don't want to admit like something's wrong. I think being vulnerable, for me, when I had this diagnosis, I still worked and I was trying to just be this same manly man. And, finally I had to rely on some help and realize that was okay. And, a lot of the gentlemen that I talk to in particular, they can be a little bit like myself, full disclosure, that's who I was. And now, I think being vulnerable is extremely important.
What comes to my head, and you're going to relate to this, when you play football, fight through it. Just fight through it. Do not do that with cancer. Do not do that with disease. Do not men. I'm speaking to men out there because I've had to, not this serious of Jason, but I just don't fight through it. Yeah, in football, if you're playing football and you got a little knee pain, maybe you can fight through it still. I still don't suggest it. get it checked first. But
Right. Now it's the
you know,
pickleball court for me, you know.
yeah. I love it. And
Uh,
pickleball is a great workout, by the way. So,
sure is.
and with that being said, we're coming to the end, but I've got a really fun question. We talked about
Yes.
serious stuff. Let's have some fun. So you've got a reservation at a restaurant, table of 4. You're going to sit in one of the chairs. Who would you invite, dead or alive, to sit in the other 3 chairs? Why would they be invited? And most importantly, what food would you order?
Oh, wow. Steve, this is good.
I love
Oh,
it.
wow. So I'm a ribeye guy. I mean, I just love a good ribeye steak. So I'm gonna start with my meal.
Amen.
I absolutely love ribeye with a good béarnaise sauce on the side, just a little bit, you know, not to, you don't want to outdo the steak. I mean, the steak is such a beautiful thing. I I just lost my mom not that long ago, and I feel like, in full transparency, there's probably some things that I would have asked her that maybe I didn't get around to. I maybe kind of took for granted, like it just whatever. So like my mom would certainly be front and center at the table.
Yeah.
I think that would be important to me. Have a brand new son now, so I would love to tell her that, that he's here, and she always wanted me to have a son. He's a Jason Jr. We call him Jay. My mom always called me Jay. So when I hear his name, it just makes me still think of my mom.
Oh,
So
blessings.
it's very, very special to me. Um, wow. I I would love Michael Jordan. Um, I I'm a sports guy. I just his winning attitude and just gritty like approach to just business and sports and everything, I think would be maybe my second guess at the table. And one more guest. I'm such a family person. Everyone. The first thing that comes to mind too is my grandfather.
Okay.
Um, Never really got a chance to spend quality time with him. I was young when he passed away, and would just love to learn more about our lineage, our family history. How he became who he was, and what made
Mhm.
him tick, and do I
His
have any
background.
traits and characteristics that kind of replicate how he did things. I think that would really be pretty cool to uncover. So yeah, one athlete, 2 family members, myself, and a juicy steak. Can't
Can't
beat
beat
that.
that. No way. Gotcha. And the thing about you picking Michael Jordan, you're the Michael Jordan of cancer. You're gritty. You fought through it. And I'm saying that, audience, because he probably wouldn't be sitting here today. We're not going to get into it, but he made a decision to find the answers. Do that. Find the answers, whoever it's through. Reach out to me, reach out to Ben. We'll get you answers. I've got a great network here of cancer resources. And by the way, Jason, how can people reach out to you, learn more about the walk, or just access you, build your own brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So LinkedIn is probably the best way. Please find me on LinkedIn, connect with me. I never have too many friends. I'd love to meet some new friends. And then our website is www.careercoachbyob. It's all one word.com. And it's not for bring your own beer. It's build your own brand. Don't get that confused.
Yeah. Mountains don't look like beers behind you. They look like mountains. So climb those mountains. I love it.
That's right.
Jason, thank you so much.
Thank
God
you,
bless
Steve.
you. I'm
Thank
praying
you.
that you're still staying healthy and the recovery's fast. And, I'm here to support you. And audience, reach out to them. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And it's a reason you're not going to believe. It's you have somebody with cancer that you want to talk to Jason, send this podcast to him. Have them listen to the passion that he has. He really wants to help you. He's doing a walk, his 5th walk. So he's not only talking the talk, he's walking the walk. Excuse the pun there. I just realized I did a pun. It's powerful. So subscribe and then share with your family and friends. I will share it with people. I've actually got people I'm going to share it with have cancer or work with people in cancer. Let's all network together. And what a powerful tool. A lot of people don't talk about that with podcasts. That's what I think the power of the podcast is. Podcast is learning about the guest, how he can motivate, inspire, and educate the people in your world. Guess what? Now you're serving them and you're making an impact that I talked about at the very beginning.
Well
And as
said.
always, thank you, Jason. And comment on the YouTube channel too if it's for Jason. I'll get it to him. To critique of the podcast. Me and Jason know it's all about you. We're just trying to do a show to educate, motivate, and inspire. Like I said earlier, that's what it's about. So if there's something about the podcast, let me know. We'll take care of it. And as always, me and Jason want to thank you all for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great
Thank
day,
you.
everybody. Keep smiling.